What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this NBA 9-game slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NBA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DG Fantasy for more information. If you guys want to be entered into the $25 giveaway that we will be doing today on stream, please like, subscribe, and also comment your favorite GPP play for this slate. This video is also sponsored by JockMKT, the new way to play daily fantasy sports. Just like a stock market, you buy, you sell players, and depending on how those players finish throughout the night, you make money. The great thing about JockMKT is that you wager as much as you want, and you earn money based on your stocks. Enter the code DGF50 for a $50 bonus. At the very end of this video, I'll give you one of my favorite buy low candidates on JockMKT. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on Draftkings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this NBA 9-game slate. And first we have to go over all the pending injury news and current injury news. Starting with Indiana, we don't have too much going on. LeVert and Warren are out for Indiana. With New Orleans, nobody's out for them. That doesn't impact the picture too much. With Chicago, we have Otto Porter and Wendell Carter Jr. out for them. So that definitely shakes things up. And Chicago, we will be paying attention to them here a little bit later on in the video. With Orlando, we have Aminu, Michael Carter-Williams, and Aaron Gordon out. That definitely shifts all the usage around Orlando. So we will be paying attention to them a little bit later as well. With Milwaukee, we have nothing going on there. With Cleveland, we have Dellavedova, Kevin Love, and Nance out. Sexton is questionable, so that's definitely something we're going to have to be paying attention to a little bit closer to lock. With Toronto, we have Harris, Anunoby, and McCaw out. Definitely some things going on there that we're going to be paying attention to. With Brooklyn, nothing going on, but keep in mind this is a very high-paced game. Anybody playing Brooklyn is in a very high-pace over-under. With Washington, Nato is out. With Miami, nothing really going on there. The same injuries have been out for a while now. With Minnesota, the exact same thing. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. If he is held out, that's definitely going to shake things up in Minnesota. With OKC, we have Dort, SGA, Hill, and Jerome out. With Dort now being out, that definitely shifts things around here for OKC. So they are going to draw a lot of the chalk. We're going to be paying attention to them here a little bit later on in the video. Nothing going on in the Utah-Charlotte game. And then with Detroit, Hayes and Okafor are out. With Phoenix, we have Crowder, Payne, and Saric out. Nothing really impacts them from a usage standpoint. And then with Boston, we have Langford, Smart, and now Jaylen Brown has been added to the report. He is questionable. If he is ruled out, that's definitely going to shake things up there. And then with the Clippers, Beverly is out for them. So let's go ahead and take that knowledge and switch it over to the main slate. Just want to address a quick comment that we got yesterday in the YouTube comment section. One person said I read off the screen too much, and yes, I do, and that's because all of these are custom projections, and they said I don't know too much about basketball because I read off the screen, and that's the only thing I can do. Well, yes, these are the custom projections that we spent all morning putting into Fantasy Cruncher. So when I show you guys the values and stuff, these are all our custom values and ownerships. We like to read the ownerships to get a good idea of what the cash and GPP options are. So if you're one of those guys that think I don't know too much about basketball, all of these projections are custom made from me and TJ. So just wanted to address that before we move on, because once we go over all these projections, it does give us a good idea of where we stand when we look at these ownerships. So Eric Bledsoe at the top of the list here, 6.1 point per dollar value with the Pelicans and Indiana. Nothing going on here, really just GPP options for me. Not too much injury news here to impact the picture. Zion, an 8.1K price tag, and now Brandon Ingram is cheaper than Zion Williamson for the first time this season. So I do like Brandon Ingram a little bit more so than Zion in terms of GPP, just because of the $100 discrepancy, but that means Zion Williamson will be very low owned. He did have a good game last game, 48.25. Don't really like the matchup here, just GPP options for me starting off in this first game. Same thing on the other side of the ball. These ownerships are all very, very low. Miles Turner, a very cheap price tag, so you can definitely take a stab at him. He's definitely dependent on how many blocks, steals, and rebounds he does get. I can see that happening a lot here against the Pelicans. He's going to have to be out there for a long period of time with Zion Williamson being out on the court. So I do like the matchup here. I do like Miles Turner as a GPP option. Same thing with Sabonis. He's carrying 19.9% ownership, which is actually the most on the team. So I would say he's borderline cash viable. Just because of his price tag. He does pass the eye test. I do like the $8,600 price tag, and his ownership is creeping up, so I do like him there. Brogdon, always a good GPP option and a good matchup versus the Pelicans. The Pelicans rank 28th against opposing point guards, so I do like them. I do like him in this matchup, a 5.2 point per dollar value. Going over to the Chicago-Orlando game, if we're going to take a look at the usage chart, let me find Chicago up here. Yes, with these current injuries off the court, the biggest benefactors are going to be, not including these guys in small sample sizes, are going to be Patrick Williams and Zach Levine, and those are exactly the guys that I want to hone in on here. Zach Levine gets a 31.7% usage with all these guys off the court and a 1.32 fantasy point per minute output. Markkanen also a 21% usage and a 0.93 fantasy point output, and then Patrick Williams, a guy who also receives a nice little bump here, a 0.79 fantasy point per minute output and a 19.9% usage. So if we look at this in terms of value, Patrick Williams does present the best value at a 4K price tag, projected in 30 minutes. I do like him here. I think he's borderline cash viable, but I think he's definitely more of a GPP option because of the ownership here. 9.7% ownership, and then also Zach Levine, 14.1% ownership. More of a GPP option for me, but I do like him here in this matchup. A 5.7 point per dollar value. We know in very close games, and Chicago's only 2-point favorites right now, Zach Levine thrives because he is this offense. I do like him here at a 5.7 point per dollar value. Everybody else just GPP options, not really that high on anybody else on this roster. Switching over to Orlando, we have a very big injury report here for them. Aminu, Michael Carter-Williams, and Aaron Gordon does shake up this picture tremendously. So Vucevic averages 1.4 fantasy points per minute in this time. He also receives a nice little usage bump, a 3.6% usage bump to be exact. Fournier averaging 1.18 fantasy points per minute and a 28.5% usage overall. So those two are actually my favorite values here on this team. 8.5K price tag for Vucevic, which is really cheap, and a 36-minute projected output. I have him projected right now at 50.4 projected points and a 5.9 point per dollar value. He's going to be one of the most obvious plays on the slate, drawing a good matchup here versus Chicago. Chicago definitely does never perform well versus bigs, and I really like him here specifically at this price tag at 8.5. Definitely going to be one of the chalkiest options on the slate. I believe he's third highest owned on the slate as of right now. Another good GPP option is going to be Evan Fournier. In his last matchup without the same injuries, he scored 34.75 points. I expect him to be around that exact same production in this matchup. Right now I have him projected at 36.58 points and also a 5.9 point per dollar value. So definitely like these guys in this matchup. I think this is a great game to target in terms of GPPs, with maybe the exception of Vucevic, who's definitely going to be more cash viable. Switching over to the highest over-under on the entire slate, Toronto is without McCaw, Anunoby, and Harris. So this does give a slight boost to a couple guys. If we look here, starting at the top, VanVleet benefits the most, a 3.6% usage bump and a 0.2 fantasy point per minute bump. So I have him tagged right now at a 1.34 fantasy point per minute output. When we translate that over to the sheet, a 6.1 point per dollar value. VanVleet's only 12.5% owned and a 7.9K price tag. We saw what he did last game with the same exact injuries off the court, and this is an even better matchup for them. I'm not saying he's going to put up or the team's going to put up 123 points, but it's definitely possible against the Brooklyn Nets. Technically, the over-under is higher than the last game. So Fred VanVleet, I think, quite frankly, is cash viable. I think in this pace-up matchup, he's going to be the biggest benefactor, and quite frankly, I think he's one of my favorite overall plays on the entire slate. Kyle Lowry, also not that bad of an option, 5.5 point per dollar value, projected right now at 42.92 points, but definitely more GPP and 8.9% ownership. I think he's a great pivot off of somebody like Fred VanVleet. We'll see what his ownership ends at, Fred VanVleet, because I definitely think after last game's performance, he's going to be more higher owned than 12.5%. Boucher is also showing a good value, but he's only projected at 20 minutes. We know he's very productive when given minutes. I think this is a favorable matchup versus Brooklyn, so I think, you know, at 4.5K, definitely GPP viable as well. Siakam, don't really see too much value in him, 36 minutes, but if you want to take a stab at him in GPP, he's actually the highest owned guy here on this team. Switching over to Brooklyn here, we have all these guys, very low ownership. Durant, Irving, and Harden is always a question. Which one do you start? Well, Kyrie Irving shows the best value play here, a 9.1K price tag, the cheapest amongst the three superstars, and we know we usually take the cheapest amongst the three. Kyrie Irving's been taking a bunch of volume shots here when with the addition of these two superstars, so I'm not too worried about Kyrie Irving getting to 45. I think that that's a very doable DK output, so I do like him here, a 6 point per dollar value. Like I said, Kevin Durant got a price decrease, a 9.6 K price tag is what he's showing right now, a 5.8 point per dollar value, and same thing with James Harden, also got a price decrease, a 10.6 K price tag, and projected in 37 minutes. One of these guys will have a ceiling game. If I had to pick one of my favorites, it's probably going to be Kevin Durant, just with that price tag and him being one of the highest usage guys on this team. Everybody else is just GPP options. Not really a fan of anybody else here on Brooklyn. So with Milwaukee, all these guys are strictly going to be GPP options because Milwaukee is favored by 10 points. If they can keep it close, yes, obviously I'm a fan of Giannis going out and slamming value. A 10.8K price tag did go down in price, an 8.4% ownership. Chris Middleton also got a decrease in the price tag, so a 7.8K price tag and a 5.4 point per dollar value. Also, Brook Lopez does look nice at a 5.1K price tag, projected in 28 minutes. But again, if these guys can keep it close, I like them. If they cannot, they're not going to see minutes in the fourth, and that really does scare me. So same thing with Cleveland. All these guys are going to be GPP options. Andre Drummond actually showing a decent amount of ownership. Right now, he's only projected at 28 minutes, so I'm not that big of a fan of him right now. Especially if he doesn't play over 30 minutes in this matchup. Definitely if it blows out as well. So Taurean Prince is actually going to be my favorite value. He actually averages 0.93 fantasy points per minute on this current roster, a 9.2% ownership right now, so he's going to be more of a GPP play, but I do like him. If Sexton is ruled out for this team, I'm going to be honing in on a couple of other guys here from Cleveland, but we won't know that news till a little bit later. But right now, these guys are all GPP options for me as well. Utah, nothing really going on here. The price tags have gone down on Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is in a very, very good matchup, a very favorable matchup. So projected in 32 minutes, I do like him. Utah is favored by 7 points, so this does have blow-up potential. Don't think it will happen, but my favorite option from this team is going to be Rudy Gobert. Donovan Mitchell also got a price decrease, a 7.7K price tag. Switching over to Charlotte, we have a low ownership finally on Cody Zeller. He's been cash viable these past couple slates, but a 6.1K price tag. Don't really see why we would play him at that price tag. If he does remain playing the exact same minutes, he should not hit that price tag in a bad matchup against Rudy Gobert. Very, very bad matchup against Rudy Gobert. One of the best defensive players in all the NBA. Right now, Terry Rozier is a game time decision. If he doesn't play, then yes, we're going to go back to this picture, but these guys are in a pace down spot against a very good defense. Going to probably avoid these guys for the most part. Looking over at Washington right now, Russell Westbrook is carrying a decent amount of ownership, 13.9% ownership, only a 5.3 point per dollar value. The big question mark is Russell Westbrook going to actually play starter minutes? Right now, he's played 35 and 33 in his last 2 games, so I can only expect he's going to be playing around those same exact minutes. Bradley Beal got a major price decrease here, $9,500, projected in 38 minutes. So a 5.5 point per dollar value in a very bad matchup here versus the Miami Heat. So I do like these guys, but only in GPPs. If this team's going to keep it close versus Miami, right now Miami's only a 6-point favorite. It's going to be through Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. So only taking stabs at these guys in GPPs. Switching over to Miami here, we have Jimmy Butler at an 8.3K price tag, projected in 34 minutes. Don't mind him for GPPs, but I'm going to probably be off of these guys. These guys aren't at pace-up spot. They're actually the second highest over-under on the entire slate. So Jimmy Butler, definitely a good GPP option. Tyler Hero is a shooter. We like shooters and very good pace-up spots. Bam Adebayo in a good matchup as well, $9,200. All these guys are in very good matchups and also a pace-up spot, so the ownership is very low on these guys. I do prefer Miami for bigger GPPs. I think one of these guys will definitely have a good ceiling game. Switching over to Minnesota, the big question mark is Russell... D'Angelo Russell, 13.5% ownership. Is he going to actually play? If he does not play, we're going to be on these guys a lot more. But if he does play, 6.9K is actually a pretty intriguing price tag versus OKC, projected in 31 minutes. I do like him. Right now, we only have him projected at 33.48 points, but you got to think, if this game is going to stay close, it's going to be because of D'Angelo Russell. So looking down the line here, Naz Reid's actually not that bad of a price tag here at 5.4K, averaging over a fantasy point per minute, projected in 28 minutes. I really like Naz Reid for his offensive firepower. Don't like him for defense, but for DFS purposes, we don't care about that. We only care about the offensive production. Naz Reid in a very good spot, so I do like him for a GPP option at a 5.9K price tag. Everybody else is going to fall by the wayside until D'Angelo Russell is ruled out. Looking over at OKC right now, all the injuries have definitely impacted this team as a whole. Right now, Ariza, SGA, Dort, Hill, and Jerome are out. Those are some high usage guys. That gives an extreme bump to Diallo. If we actually take a look at the chart here, Diallo is averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute with these guys off the court, and that's in a 222 minutes of sample size. He's a 27.5% usage, so we are going to be all aboard the Diallo train at a very cheap price tag at 5.4K. Al Horford also not that bad of an option here, 1.05 fantasy points per minute, and Bazley averaging 0.83 fantasy points per minute with these guys off the court. Diallo does get the biggest boost in usage at a 4% usage boost, and also Bazley at a 3.3% usage boost. So if we look back and convert that over to the chart here, 5.2K price tag for Diallo, projected in 34 minutes, definitely a great value, probably one of the more obvious plays on the entire slate. A 7.8 point per dollar value is by far the biggest value on the slate. Justin Jackson also tied for the highest value on the slate, a 7.8 point per dollar value as well, a 3.2K price tag, and projected right now in 28 minutes. Just because of his price tag and he's playing starter minutes, I really do like him. I think he's just an obvious plug and play value at this point. Malden also not that bad of an option, not as bullish on him as I am for Diallo and also Jackson, but if you want to throw him in for a GPP option as well, don't hate that. He's also carrying a very high ownership projection right now, 29.2% ownership right now. Switching over to Detroit and Phoenix, this is probably one of the games I'm going to avoid. It's an 8-point favorite. Detroit doesn't have anybody I'm really intrigued in. Only with the exception of Jeremy Grant, always a GPP option, a 7K price tag, but his projection is also very low. Going to be completely, like I said, off this game in general. With Phoenix, the exact same picture. Mikal Bridges is probably my favorite option at a 5.3K price tag, only because he gets starter minutes, and DeAndre Ayton showing a 5.2 point per dollar value at a 7.1K price tag. But like I said, the lowest over-under on the entire slate, not too much going on there in terms of injuries as well. Last but not least, we have the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are without Pritchard, Smart. That does give a big usage boost to guys like Tatum, Walker, and Brown. They're at the very top of the board, actually. Jaylen Brown projected at 42.16 points, a 5.5 point per dollar value. If he does play, I do like him, and I expect him to play just because it is the Los Angeles Clippers. And then also Jason Tatum here, a 5.5 point per dollar value and a 48.96 fantasy point output. Right now, I have him projected at 32.3% usage and 1.44 fantasy points per minute. Kemba Walker, a 33.8% usage and a 1.41 fantasy point per minute output. The only thing about Kemba Walker is he's not playing starter minutes, and because of that, I'm going to be probably off of him. Not saying he can't easily hit value, but he has a lower ceiling. Jaylen Brown, last but not least, a 31% usage and a 1.25 fantasy point per minute output. So all those guys are my favorite here on this team. Daniel Tice, a 28-minute output and a 5K price tag, and also a 5.5 point per dollar value. But pending all the injury news, we are going to avoid these guys until we hear that injury news on the live stream. Last but not least, let's move over to the LA Clippers. Right now, Beverly is projected to be out, so that gives a boost to Reggie Jackson, projected at 30 minutes. I think he's a great GPP option against Boston. I know Boston is a good defensive team. A 5.7 point per dollar value, and also Kawhi Leonard at an 8.8K price tag, a 5.9 point per dollar value, one of the lowest price tags we've seen him all season long. He's been over 9K for like the past, 20 weeks or so, or 20 games or so. So I do like him for a GPP option. This game should be relatively close. Boston versus the Clippers. The Clippers are only favored by 6 points. And guys, that will end my analysis on DraftKings. For JockMarket, if we actually go back and sort by my favorite projections, my overall projections, James Harden is projected to be the second highest scorer on the slate on JockMarket. He's only projected to be the 5th. So I am bullish on James Harden. He's one of my favorite options on the entire slate. If this game does shoot out, which it should, and remain competitive, James Harden should be in the top 5 projected scorers on this slate. So very bullish on James Harden. Buy him as low as you can on JockMarket and watch your stock rise and make money. And that will end my video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.